Happy New Year! Woo!
What's going on, guys? Ryan Nelson here. And today, today I'm getting a head rush. Let's let this wear out for a second. What's going on, guys? Ryan Nelson here, and today I wanted to take a look at the new Luminar 4 and some of the new features like the sky replacement and the skin enhancer, portrait enhancer, and the erase tool. So these seem like some pretty strong features. I want to check them out, dive in, see how well they work, and see if they're going to work for you. Let's take a look. So I've picked out a few images from the last year that I wanted to look at. One thing I really like about Luminar is once you import a folder, you can move images in or out of that folder and they will automatically preview in Luminar. It's not like Lightroom where every time you add a photo to a certain folder, you have to go through the import process. They will auto-populate in here, which is really nice. But if you haven't added a folder, here's how you do that. So once Luminar 4 is open, just come up here, click add, and then add my Luminar examples. Now here are the 7 examples that I picked out to test out the different features of Luminar 4. Now, one tool that I really wanted to check out in Luminar 4 is the sky replacement tool. Sounds interesting, right? Apparently Luminar 4 is pretty good at replacing the sky in an image. I picked this image to see if we can replace the sky, make this more interesting, give it a little more pop, and see what we can do with this image. First of all, I'm gonna go back to give this a Luminar look. I'm gonna go over to landscape. Let's add a dramatic landscape to this. What about impressive? I don't like impressive. Not very impressive. Okay, so back to the dramatic landscape. Maybe I'll take that down just a little bit. Kind of like where that goes right there. Takes that blue tint out of it. Adds a little more pop to these trailers. So let's find the sky enhancer. Again, here's where I would like that search bar where I can just search the tool that I'm looking for rather than remember where it's at every time. Sky replacement, there it is. Okay. Sky selection. Now it looks like we have a lot of skies to choose from. Sunset cloud, sunset, starry night, dramatic. Let's just go all out and hit dramatic sky 2. Wow. Okay, that actually looked like it did a pretty good job. If I showed you that picture, you wouldn't have known that that wasn't the right sky. I wouldn't have known. The lighting looks a little funky with the image in the sky, but holy moly. Let's try another one. No, that matches this image a lot better. This is kind of impressive. What if I do starry night? What happens? How about that? Wow. Look at this, before, after, before, after, before, after. What is this wizardry going on here? Holy moly, that's really impressive. And then you can actually go through and move the sky around. All right, well, let's bring that horizon back down because that kind of gives it away. I love that they even have a little shooting star in here. How cool is that? All right, so let's give this something a little more blue sky. What if I do blue sky? It already was blue sky, so. Okay, so the sky enhancer, pretty cool. I mean, I can see this coming in really useful, especially just for filling in blank blue skies like I had back here. It was very uneventful, not much going on back here. It just adds a little more drama to the image, a little more something, a little more visual interest. Good job, guys. That might make up for the lack of search bar that I'm missing. I really do miss that, but this is cool. That may be worth the price of admission right there. So next I'm gonna pull up this shot from Shibuya Crossing. Night shot, few seconds long. Pretty cool shot in my opinion. It was a really crazy place to be. If you've never been there and you don't like people, don't go. But if you like people or don't mind a lot of people around, go check this place out. So let's see what I can do with this raw image. So let's change this Luminar looks down to street. And let's go to, let's see what big city looks like. Gives it a little bit more pop, a little bit more depth. Now, I'm not really digging downtown. It's too bright for my taste. So let's go back to big city. We'll leave that as is. So the tool I want to look for now is the AI structure. which is right here. So let's see what this does. So this tool is kind of neat. If you look at the tree here, it's where I'm noticing it the most, is it's just kind of bringing out the highlights a little bit and making them pop a little bit more and just giving this image a little bit more vibrancy overall. One of my favorite features of Luminar is the before and after, where you don't have to put them side by side. You can actually literally do a swipe back and forth. So that definitely has a lot more pop than that. So that's the after. We're gonna leave that right there as it is. Now AI structure, that's probably a feature that I will use a lot. I kind of like what it did on this image. So let's go up here and kind of see what an AI structure does on this image. Now if I take it up all the way, I think it's too much contrast going on there. But we're gonna take that up a little bit. Yeah, it leaves a boost down pretty low. Let's take that up to about 42 and then go up to the AI enhance. Now I'm going at this image with no preset Luminar looks. So let's just see what we can do with this one. Now, there's not much sky in here, so we're not gonna get much out of the sky. It's trying to tone down the clouds a little bit as I'm going through this. Color, I definitely wanna add some color to this. So add some saturation, a little bit of vibrance. There's not much of a color cast here. Maybe a little blue, because it's a very overcast day, so we're gonna add a little bit of color cast removal. And let's see what that smart contrast does on this one. I'm just gonna take the smart contrast down a little bit. So we're getting a little bit more depth in these clouds, a little bit more depth in this image overall. Take my highlights up, my shadows down just a little bit. Now this is where I wanna get into the landscape enhancer. Add a little bit of a dehaze, add a little bit of golden hour. You can see over here on the left, it's adding a lot more warm colors while keeping the cool in the clouds. And then if we add the foliage enhancer, as I go back and forth real quick, you can definitely see in the greens, it pulls out greens and yellows and just makes them pop a lot more than they would by themselves. So now if we go look at our before and after, huge difference in the landscape on the left. As we go through, we're seeing so much more detail in the clouds up here on the top of the image and just a lot more color overall. It's a very flat image as raw, and we got a lot of detail going on. You will add a little vignette to bring your eyes towards the river in the center. And we're gonna leave that one as is. So here we see a picture of Josh Haynes. By the way, Josh, thanks for all the great DaVinci tutorials. Helps me out. But if you guys want to switch over to DaVinci, link that channel right up here. Go ahead and check him out. Really good tutorials. So the reason I selected this image is I want to test out the skin enhancer. I don't do a whole lot of portraits, so this was one of the better examples of portraits that I've done in the past. So we're gonna go over to the edit tab here and then try to find the skin enhancer. Now the menus are laid out a little bit different than Luminar 3, so it's gonna take a little getting used to if you're used to 3. So let's try this little smiley guy. So we have a skin enhancer, a portrait enhancer. So let's see what the AI skin enhancer does. So the skin enhancer looks like it's gonna be more geared towards a female model. You can definitely see in the cheeks here, as I move this up, it gets softer and softer and bring it back down. So let's take this to, right about here, 18%. Try out the portrait enhancer. Let's see what this does. Face light. Definitely don't have red eye here. Eye whitening, not seeing many eyes there. Slim face. So when you're on the jobs and people ask you, can you make me look skinnier? Apparently now you can. You just slim their face and enlarge their eyes. Now looking at the adjustments here on the portrait enhancer, this looks like it's geared more towards straight up portraits, corporate headshot, any kind of headshot type situation, less artistic portrait style. So we're gonna go ahead and close that up. Okay, so messing around with the skin enhancer and portrait enhancer, I can see where this could be really handy if you do a lot of portraits. Personally, I do not do a lot of portraits, so I don't find that this is gonna be super useful for me, but let's go ahead and move on and see what other features are in there. Now you can see in the bottom here as I loaded this image, you get Luminar looks and these auto-populate with different looks. So what this does is give you different preset looks that you can try out on your image rather quickly and just see kind of what you're going for. Sometimes I find that I just click on one of these and the image looks fantastic. Other times I find that I want to go back through and do some more adjustments to it. I'm usually shooting outside, so I'll add some sort of foliage enhancer, add a little bit of golden hour to warm it up and give it a little bit more of a nice warm feel to it. And then some of these you find they're a little bit too much, which is nice because you can actually tone it down. So let's start here about 42% on the AI image enhancer. So one of the most useful features I've found overall in Luminar is the AI enhance feature. So as we take a look here, it just kind of does an overall broad adjustment to your image, but in the software it knows where to kind of brighten things, add contrast, add some color to it, and I find that overall it does a pretty good job. Sometimes I think it does the sky a little bit too much, so I'll take this back down a little bit. Now as I'm getting into this, one thing that I'm finding that I'm missing here from Luminar 3 is the ability to search my different adjustments. Luminar 3 had a search over here to where I could just type in golden hour or light rays and I could search that. And I could pull that tool right up, but I'm not seeing that here. I really like that feature. If you guys can bring that back, that would be amazing. So one of the new features in Luminar 4 is called Smart Contrast. I'm trying to find it. This is why I pulled this image in here, because I wanted to try the Smart Contrast. Wait, there it was right there. It's under light. So if I bring this Smart Contrast up, let's take it all the way up. I think it does a pretty good job of adding light contrast and not going too overboard with the contrast. So as I'm messing around with this image, I'm just trying different looks, different filters, kind of see what happens. Let's add a little bit of sun rays and kind of see what that looks like. Kind of gives a nice little flair to it, nice touch. So advanced settings, number of rays. How do I place the sun now? I find that this was easier to do in Luminar 3 because I could do the amount and immediately I could go down and place the sun where I wanted to. I can place sun center. Oh, okay. So this is how you move the sun, is you have to hit place sun center and then it gives you a little dot that you can move around. One more tool that I wanted to check out in this is the auto erase feature, which is basically a clone stamp. So let's see how this works on this shot right here. This trailer's got some scratches, some dings, some spots, probably some bugs on it. So let's see how it cleans up this image. Okay, so erase tool is under the canvas. Not quite as intuitive as Luminar 3, but we're gonna deal. We're gonna see what happens here. I'm assuming I mask off what I want erased. So let's just do boom, 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 boom. Let's see what happens. And done. So let's see if I do a before and after here. It does actually pretty decent job of erasing this stuff. Now looking at some of these spots, I can definitely tell like right here that it's been cloned out. But if I didn't know or didn't know to look there, I would have never noticed this stuff. So this seems like one of those tools that can be really handy. It's gonna be different for each situation. So some things that may work really well in other situations, it may not work quite so well. Just gonna luck of the draw. If it doesn't work here, take it in Photoshop, clone stamp it, take your time. Maybe you don't wanna spend that time, but it's the right way to do it. So do it that way. Okay, the one last thing that I wanted to test with this compared to Luminar 3 is the processing time. Now, Luminar 3 did take a long time to export images. Let's see how Luminar 4 does. So I'm gonna export these 7 images and I'm gonna export them as TIFF files, 8-bit resolution, 300, no compression, Adobe RGB, and save. 7 images. Let's see how long it takes. Now, Luminar 4 does get a little bit more in depth with this. You can do layers, you can do masking. I haven't dove that deep into the Luminar program yet. I have some time coming up, so maybe I will get a little more in depth with it and do a more in-depth tutorial on Luminar 4. So keep an eye out for that. Things I like about Luminar 4, that sky enhancer, wow. The portrait enhancer and the skin enhancer I can see being really amazing tools if you do a lot of portraits. The erase feature is pretty neat. And then with the Luminar looks, it can be a really fast way to do quick photo editing. Now, do I see this as being a replacement for Lightroom or Photoshop? Not completely. Can you get away without Adobe and just use this program? Sure, you absolutely can. So I am a fan of Luminar. I do recommend this program. It's not that expensive. If you're on a budget, it's a really great alternative to Adobe products. This is a really strong program for putting those final touches on your images. So you're gonna find some value in it. You're gonna find some use in it. So like I said, link down below in the description. Go ahead and check that out. Hit that thumbs up button down there if you like this video, find it useful, share it with your friends. Also, hit the subscribe button down there if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time. All right, well, it looks like these are almost done exporting. Conclusion, you're still not getting fast exports from Luminar 4.